Shall we begin?
Welcome to the Happy MonsterCast. I'm your host, Scott Marchand Davis of Happy Monster Press.
Let's begin now.
This week on the Happy MonsterCast, the Legion must prevent a duel that could do irreparable harm to the alliance with France. Previously on the Happy MonsterCast, the Continental Army has formed the Legion of Liberty, a unit of superhumans fighting for freedom from the British Crown. Elijah Allen, Master of Mind Control, Artemis Crow, Invisible Assassin, Hedanoit, the Wampanoag Swamp Monster, Clara Washington, Super Soldier, and Nubbins McGregor, New Recruit and Greycoat Deserter. The Legion are enjoying some much-needed R&R in Boston, except for Lieutenant Allen, who was called away to Washington's headquarters. Unfortunately, sinister plots are afoot at a gala ball for the Marquis de Lafayette. Okay, recap time. So after the disastrous colonial defeat at Newport, the British offensive into Rhode Island was stalled out thanks to your efforts, including the infamous exploding rat trick, destroying British ships of the line. And so you've now returned triumphant to Boston. And you find Boston in celebration. The charismatic French Marquis de Lafayette has arrived as a harbinger of French forces to come. And you are invited to a ball in his honor, given by the wealthy, possibly wealthiest man in Boston, one John Hancock.
Oh, my.
Oh. So let me drop you. Your commanding officer, Elijah, has been called away to confer with George Washington on an urgent matter. So he is unable to attend the ball. But the rest of you arrive to find quite the celebration.
Place is booming.
Ooh,
It is
nice.
hopping. Your old buddy Sam Adams is over here. And
Definitely
you also
dancing.
Absolutely dancing, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Adams is chatting with John Hancock over here.
I haven't been to the Charleston yet, though.
No, it's true. Alexander Hamilton's in attendance, representing Washington. Very popular gentleman. Very popular with the ladies.
I heard he's cute.
And
I heard
so
there's a cat named after him.
that all of those things are true. If you recall from our Rifts campaign, also a toaster named after him.
Right.
So the ball is in honor of Lafayette as well, and it's the second hour, and the elite of Boston are taking their places for a reel. You see Lafayette himself striding rigidly towards Dorothy Hancock, a broad smile seemingly fixed on his face. The two engage in a quiet conversation. After a few minutes, you catch a glimpse of Mrs. Hancock heading towards the back door on Lafayette's arm. So the two of them are headed off this way. What would you like to do here at the party?
Is there any reason to suspect there's something awry?
Lafayette looks a little weird. You can make a notice roll to see if you see anything awry.
I'll do that.
I'm also curious.
I'm not clicking so well tonight for some reason.
There's some very nice rolls.
Did I roll notice at all?
You did not.
Seeing any.
I love the unts lights.
It's a colonial dance party.
Welcome to your old colonial ball.
They were ahead of their
Hey,
time. To be
can
sure.
somebody roll notice for me? Do you mind?
Yes, we can.
Thank
Not at
you.
all.
Sure, when my mouse
Notice.
does not want to play.
Okay, so other than Lafayette looking kind of weird, you don't really notice anything awry. You do, however, notice that there are a number of delicious beverages and similar and light apps on trestle tables around the perimeter if you would care to have anything.
Yeah, you'll find me at the bar.
I'm eating.
I'm working around the room, light conversation as I need to, but I'm eavesdropping for any interesting tidbits.
Okay. Go ahead and place yourself where you want to be. I moved the two of you over to where there's food and drink. And what about Nubbins?
I also like to eat and just, I'm Scottish, so it's like I really just want to be hungry and pig out. So I'm eating a ton of food and just really interested in it. But also, I'm trying to eavesdrop, but also just really hungry and just not inhibited at all about it.
Okay. So Artemis, you're over talking to you're over by Adams and Hancock, and they're discussing the conflict between funding for the Colonial Army versus funding for the Massachusetts militia and for privateers versus the Continental Navy, such as it is. Hancock is very much in favor of additional funding for the militias, feeling like Massachusetts should be able to stand on its own, and not entirely sure that some of the southern colonies are reliable, whereas Adams is much more inclined to have a strong central force. And so after a couple of minutes of listening to this conversation, you see Dorothy Hancock burst into the room with her gown torn and start moving quickly over to her husband.
Oh boy.
Nothing good can happen.
What would you like to do there?
I will, interrupt the conversation for Mr. Hancock and say, "Sir, I believe your wife is approaching. She appears to be in some distress. Please don't hesitate to let me know if there's anything I can do to offer assistance."
He says, "Why, thank you, sir. Dorothy, what seems to be the problem?" "Lafayette, that beast." And Lafayette comes running after her. And Hancock looks furious. And so he walks over to and meets Lafayette in front of the orchestra here and says, "How dare you impugn my wife's honor, sir?
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
I demand satisfaction."
No, jeez.
Illegal? Technically?
Oh
Not
boy.
particularly, but it wasn't exactly uncommon either. And Lafayette says, "If you insist, monsieur, my good friend Alexander will act as my second."
Oh boy.
And Hancock says, "Mr. Adams will act as mine. I shall see you for grass before breakfast, sir." And he takes his wife by the arm and they storm out of the ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
So Lafayette goes over to confer with Hamilton, which, if you'll recall, you know Hamilton, so you have an entree there. What would you like to do here? This is not good. You've got two very prominent people who, in their own way, each have a major contribution to make to the war effort, who are literally going to be gunning for each other.
There is still time to avoid this duel if we can get an apology issued and accepted, right?
That is possible, yes.
In theory.
Or reveal that somebody's being mind controlled, or there's some other actor at work here.
I would like you all to make a notice roll, please.
Okay.
Hey, where is Mouser's working?
Yay. Closed all the other browser windows,
Okay, Artemis, you are paying close attention because this does not smell right to you. And so you notice two things. The first is that Lafayette seems kind of confused as he's talking to Hamilton. And the second is that 3 of the civilians ducked out one of the doors as soon as Hancock left.
Mm. Right. So I blah, blah, blah. So nobody is standing near me. I quick come over and tell some of my compatriots this. I'm going to try to keep an eye on Lafayette, but somebody should track down those people that left.
Which door?
They left by this door here.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it being night and the party being crowded, by the time you get out the door, it's really not obvious where these people went. And since none of you saw them, you're not really able to identify anybody on the street as possibly being one of these people. You got a rough description from Artemis, but not enough to distinguish among the various people making their way around the streets of the city at night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I try to talk to Lafayette, and he seems confused. So I want to talk to him and try to figure out what's going on. Was he drugged? Was he mind controlled? Why is he confused? Why on earth would he do something like that to John Hancock's wife?
Okay. So you approach, and Hamilton says, Corporal Crow, or I see it's Sergeant Crow now. Excellent. Excellent news. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. May I present my very close friend, the Marquis de Lafayette.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Lafayette.
Oh, no.
Avec plaisir. J'ai enchanté à faire votre acquaintance.
Merci. À vous?
Yeah, your French is quite
boy.
good, sir. But I am quite conversant with English. I spent years of my education in New York City.
I'm quite happy to make your acquaintance, Monsieur. Although I must admit that the circumstances under which I find myself in conversation with you are not those that I might have expected.
And what circumstances are those, pray tell?
It seems that Mr. Hancock has had a disturbing night.
You mean
Yes,
Mrs. Hancock?
He is perhaps overly sensitive.
I wonder, Monsieur,
What?
if perhaps this misunderstanding can be resolved between the two of you. You are, of course, both dear friends of the nation.
Hancock is a friend only to himself, I fear. His florid signature on your Declaration of Independence was self-serving in the extreme, and he is a man of wealth but no taste. Nevertheless, I do not feel he had any just cause for his insult, but I will face him.
Monsieur, forgive me, but it is not perhaps the custom that these Boston men are used to have their wives approached in a manner beyond what they would expect.
Nonsense. The Mrs. Hancock was perhaps overwrought by the attention of a younger and more attractive man, which is fair because this guy's 19 years old, very good looking, versus Hancock, who is middle aged and portly.
Yeah.
Hey,
So clearly she became overwrought at my attentions, and
Her dress was
whatever.
torn. How did her dress get torn?
So you've joined the conversation here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, come on over.
Because I'm going to get mad.
Okay. He says, Sergeant Washington, may I also present the Marquis de Lafayette? Sergeant Washington is one of the finest soldiers in the Continental Army. He says, I do not know what tore her dress. Perhaps she caught it on the doorway, running to her husband.
Does he still seem confused?
No, he doesn't seem confused at all.
He's like right on.
Yeah,
okay.
He seems very sharp.
And he's just straight up denying that he assaulted Mrs. Hancock.
Well, you haven't asked him straight up. He's saying,
okay,
so what attentions did you pay?
Yeah, Mr. Hancock
simply
to be under the impression that your attentions were so forceful as to constitute an assault on her person.
Nonsense. I would never do such a thing. Alexander, you can certainly vouch for me in this matter. Well, I have to say, my friends, that I have never known the Marquis to need to assault a lady. I believe the ladies are more likely to be assaulting him. And he sort of chucks Lafayette
I'm in a huff. Okay, how tall am I compared to these guys? Because I'm going to start. I am not happy.
I'm going to say you're taller than both of them.
Perfect.
Okay, so I step forward and I say, I take umbrage with that.
I see this coming and I step in between and I say, temper certainly. Right.
Yes.
That's so funny. I'm going to start pushing.
So he says, no, Hamilton says, no, Sergeant, we've already had one duel established tonight. I don't think that we need another. And after all,
I don't need a duel.
And after all, my friend the Marquis has been appointed a major general in the Continental Army and is therefore your superior officer.
I'm sorry. Are we in the army tonight, or are we at a ball?
We're always in the army.
Well, when
that said,
the privilege
what
of
exactly
rank,
happened?
I simply spoke with Miss Hamilton. She asked me for
Miss Hancock.
Miss Hancock. She asked me for a private conversation. We stepped out back, and then she came running out for no reason that I can discern.
Were you speaking about?
I was simply complimenting her on the ball, which her husband had financed, and I assumed, in the manner of a Frenchwoman, that she had been responsible for the details, the decor, the music, and such.
That's strange. That certainly is not anything that one should be upset about and then leave your company.
Indeed, I do not understand.
And she didn't ask you anything in particular? If she asked for a private conversation, that seems a strange topic to pull you aside.
It's strange. I do not recall what she wished to speak of.
Can somebody please mind read this man? This 19-year-old boy?
Sadly, your mind reader is otherwise occupied.
Damn it.
I mean, you could turn him into a frog. You got that going for you.
Maybe we should turn him into a frog, keep him in our pocket for a while.
All right, so I'm just sort of
Or a
casually,
rat,
yeah,
and then blow him up.
yeah. So I'm just sort of casually walking over, playing dumb, but I've clearly sort of heard the suggestion, and I sort of whisper at Clara, like, should we take him outside?
He says, Hamilton says, Sergeant Pedanoit. A pleasure to see you again. And I believe this is a new member of your unit. Could you introduce me, Sergeant Crow?
Of course. May I introduce Nubbins, Sergeant Nubbins McGregor,
I do understand
new
this.
member of our team. Mr. What's the Hamilton's rank at this point?
I'm going to say that he is currently a captain.
Captain Alexander Hamilton, adjunct to General Washington.
I fear that I no longer hold that position. There was a matter of another duel, I'm afraid, involving some insults that General Charles Lee levied against General Washington. You've met General Lee, I understand, and I'm sure you can understand how he might be provoking.
I
think we didn't care for him.
I imagine he did not care for you either. He is notoriously opposed to anyone with any association to General Washington whatsoever.
Right. So I whisper to my companions sotto voce. And maybe it's Mrs. Hancock who was mind messed. Maybe she came in. Maybe this is a false accusation. I don't know.
Says Hamilton says, if you'll excuse me, gentleman, lady, I must speak with Mr. Adams. We should have this unpleasantness done with as quickly as possible. And he walks over to talk to Sam Adams.
Is there anything further that we can notice about Hancock, about his behavior?
I mean, he's always been a little bit of a hothead and a bit full of himself. The whole Declaration of Independence signature thing speaks to that. And, it doesn't hurt his ego any being the wealthiest man in Boston. But from what you know of him, and you haven't met him previously in person, he doesn't seem to be acting out of character. But you don't know him a whole lot better than you know Lafayette here.
Where did she get to?
Well, Hancock and his wife have both left.
Well,
Lafayette says, I understand you're recently returned from Paris.
Yes.
And that you were of some service to my good friend, the Comte de Vergennes.
We did have that honor, yes.
It seems that you are extraordinarily useful fellows and lady. It is an honor to serve alongside you. I have encountered other superhumans as part of the French Légion, and they are most useful in combat, and I believe the king should make greater use of them in other matters as well.
Well, for our part, we are happy to put our talents and abilities to use furthering the cause of liberty. And for our French allies, we say, we look forward to our future together as sovereign nations, standing together in partnership.
Très bien. Now, if you'll excuse me, I find myself somewhat fatigued, and I believe that I will retire. Good evening. And he leaves.
Je suis fatigué.
And so Adams walks over and says, well, the duel's been arranged, but I don't like this. I don't like this a bit. So we cannot afford to lose Lafayette. He is an inspiration to the entire Continental Army. And and the alliance with France, I can only think would suffer if anything happened to him. But we really cannot afford to lose Hancock's fortune either. So if there is anything you can do to either avert this duel or, and you did not hear this from me, influence its outcome, then I would ask you all, as a personal favor to me, to make whatever efforts you can. And
Mr.
Ian
Adam,
Hamilton.
I was going to ask him. I mean, so we tried to talk to Lafayette about the possibility of, some sort of a smoothing over a potential misunderstanding. Is there any possibility that we could achieve the same result from the side of Mr. Hancock?
I fear this altercation was all too public in front of all of the elite of Boston. So an apology is likely out of the question unless there is some convincing evidence of, shall we say, an alternate explanation for the events. I do not believe that Mr. Hancock would accept anything that the Marquis has to say, and likely the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
And these hot-blooded young men. Hamilton there must have fought 5 duels already since the war began.
Dueling is an inefficient practice in my experience.
Given your particular expertise, Sergeant Crow, I would imagine that you have far more efficient methods at your disposal should you have a disagreement with an individual.
Yeah, you will, of course, forgive me if I choose not to respond to that directly.
Indeed. So he and Hamilton. So he and Hamilton also depart. The ball continues somewhat subdued, but before he leaves, Adams lets you know that the duel itself is set for the day after tomorrow, first thing in the morning on the Common.
I feel like
Right.
we have to ask Mrs. Hancock or try to figure out from Mrs. Hancock what happened.
All right,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you can certainly try to talk to her the following day. But when you visit the Hancock residence on Beacon Hill, you find that they are not receiving visitors.
That's not a surprise.
Can I? I guess I should have thought of this last night, right at the party. Can I use Hunter's Path and track those 3 people that left?
Let me see how long Hunter's Path still works.
Wasn't even thinking about that.
Any trail less than 60 days old. So yes, you at least have a shot at that.
Cool. All right. So I mean, I guess I kind of got a glimpse of them.
Yep. So
right.
when you use it, you don't need to roll for this.
Oh, okay.
You find that the 3 tracks diverge very quickly.
Mm.
Oh. All right. So should we? I guess we can't really split up because I'm the only one that can see them, right? Or can I indicate to people?
No, because you have to physically follow the trail.
All right. Well, so I tell everybody this and say, well, let's follow these things one at a time.
Yeah. You've got a whole day to do this, so.
Yeah, well, let's start with Trail A.
Okay, so Trail A, I'm just going to randomly determine which one is which here. Okay, so Trail A leads to a sort of upper, but not super upper class residence in North Boston, not too far from Revere's house.
Any anything I notice about the place? I mean, can I see the guy from last night?
It seems to be a house. So if you wait a while, you might see some coming and going, but no, you don't see anything obvious right out of the gate.
Just for the sake of brevity, okay, so we make a note of this house, make another location. Actually, maybe somebody should stay here and wait for this person, then the rest of us can go follow Trail B.
Did the rest of us know what these guys look like?
Not really, no. You've got a rough description, but only really a rough one.
Well, all right. Well, I don't know. I mean, without a description, whoever would wait here won't really know where this person is or even how to question them.
Correct.
All right. Well, why don't we go back and follow one of the other trails and see, maybe that'll give us more luck. Go back and do Trail B.
Okay. Okay. Trail B leads first to a stables and then leads north out of Boston. It's going to take some time to follow that one.
All right. Well, okay. Third time's a charm. Let's go back and follow Trail C.
Okay.
Now.
Trail C leads to the harbor and then out to sea.
Whoa.
Okay. So these three people came together, did their business, and then they split completely.
Totally peace.
And they did it last night. So this was very much a planned thing.
Perhaps it could also be a coincidence.
But they left together. How far past
They left roughly at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't necessarily together.
I see. So the path that they followed before the three diverged, was it kind of, a standard path to a main road, or is there anything in the way the three tracks lead away from the ballroom that would indicate they might have been leaving together?
Not obviously. They followed what would be kind of the standard way to get out of the ballroom and then diverged very quickly thereafter.
Okay.
If you can imagine coming out of a theater and then heading off in your various ways, that's kind of how it looks. That doesn't mean they weren't in cahoots, but it certainly doesn't mean that they were.
Right.
All right. It's now the evening on the night before the duel. What would you like to do?
Well, I guess we go back to that house and try to find the guy, try to find that person, talk to him, and see if they had anything to do with this assault.
Okay. So basically go and knock on the door?
Yeah, and say, we were at the party last night, and we're hoping to find out exactly what happened. You were there. Maybe you could shed some light on this, that sort of thing.
Okay. So you knock on the door, and someone answers the door. Says, "Yes, can I help you?"
Yes, we're looking for a man who was at the party that was thrown in honor of John Hancock last night. We believe he left at around the time that there was an altercation. We're just hoping to speak to him about it.
Yes, just a moment, please. And so the person who appears to be a servant of some sort heads back. And then a rather distinguished looking gentleman walks up. He appears to be, of, late middle age, perhaps even a bit elderly. And he says, I'm Benjamin Bates. I understand that you are members of the Legion of Liberty. What can I help you with?
Yes, Mr. Bates. At the party, thank you for agreeing to see us. At the party that was held in honor of Mr. Hancock last night, there was an altercation, which unfortunately led to some words being exchanged between Mr. Hancock and General Lafayette. And I was wondering if you happened to see anything or have any intelligence about that, which you might be able to share with us.
I found the entire affair entirely distasteful and inconsistent with the principles of our revolution, which is why I left as soon as I saw the altercation.
We do you have any indication that he's lying, hiding anything that would be a notice?
Make a notice roll.
Just a quick question. How common knowledge is that the Legions of Liberty? Like, would most people have heard of us?
Extremely. They're extremely. You guys are like
Okay.
propaganda. You're heavily propagandized.
Oh boy.
Famous.
Yeah, if it were the 20th century, there would be action figures and all kinds of merch.
Okay. Gotcha.
And the two of us are fairly conspicuous.
You are pretty conspicuous, yes.
We still wouldn't see a dime of that. Free Brittany.
Quick aside, there's a webcomic called Girl Power, which is basically about a federally funded superhero team designed to take down supervillains.
So awesome.
It is awesome. And they all sign a contract where they sign away their merchandising rights. But on the other hand, they have insanely high salaries, even at the lowest enlisted ranks. Because the market, the competition in the labor market for superpowered people is pretty severe.
Very cool.
So anyway, returning to the matter at hand, with a 10, you are pretty confident that he is being completely straight with you, and he seems pretty incensed about the whole thing. Like, this whole dueling thing is stupid, and I can't believe that they're, potentially wasting their lives with this nonsense in wartime. So it looks completely straight up as far as he's concerned.
Okay. I think we're at a dead end here.
There were two other people that left around the same time as you. Do you remember who they were?
I wasn't familiar with one of them. Didn't recognize the man, but there are, of course, so many people from outside Boston in town. As for the other, let me think. I believe it was one of the Peabodys.
I beg your pardon? One of the...
No, that's right. It was Thomas Perkins. Quite a good young lad. I believe he's putting a ship together for the China trade.
Might he have already sailed?
I don't believe the ship is ready to sail. He's still fitting out up in Salem.
Okay. Can you guys think of anything else to ask him?
What are your opinions of the Hancocks?
A bit nouveau riche, perhaps, but as the French say. But I have no great concern with them. And certainly Mr. Hancock has been of great use to the revolution. His funds and promotion of the revolution have been quite useful. I do imagine that, or I do believe that Mr. Adams provides him with a great deal of guidance in these matters. He's basically just saying that he thinks Hancock is useful, but also that Adams is kind of pulling his strings.
All right. Well, I guess we will thank you for your time, sir, and wish you a good evening.
And a good evening to you. I'm sorry we did not meet under better circumstances.
Well, okay. So we depart. That was a dead end.
It was a dead end.
Too bad.
And now you've got a little bit of a problem with the duck pond here.
Close to dawn, isn't it?
That whole thing where two people are going to show up and start shooting at each other?
That is, in fact, the general idea, yes. So are you going to go attend the duel?
I don't think we have a choice. We have to try to stop it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we.
Unless I can shape change one of them before they get up or something like that.
Might be tough to access them, but you could try to sneak in and do it.
Yeah.
What if I just wait as one of them's? Oh, but then everyone will see me do it. Yeah.
See, I thought about turning invisible and then, like, sort of, bumping their aim, but that would be pretty obvious.
Not necessarily. You might be able to be subtle about that. Of the two of them, Lafayette probably has the better aim, so you can't obviously interfere with both of them. But if you were going to interfere with one, he's probably the person to interfere with.
If I hold, like a walking stick, with my, while I turn invisible, it turns invisible as well, right?
Yes. All of your gear turns invisible.
All right. So I guess that's, unless somebody has a better idea, that's what I will try to do, is I will be invisible before showing up and then go up to the point where they are going to be. And then when Lafayette goes to draw and fire, I will, try to nudge his pistol just a little bit.
Yeah, this is where you really wish you had Elijah, where he could puppet one of them to miss.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So give me an invisibility roll.
Okay. Oh, come on.
No, with concentration, that succeeds.
Oh, all right.
Now give me a stealth roll to sneak up on Lafayette. Yeah, I have a feeling he's not going to notice you.
Nice.
Nope, not even close. All right, so they call the count. They turn and fire. Let's see how Hancock does. That's going to hit, unfortunately. See if it's enough to see what happens to Lafayette here. So it grazes Lafayette. And Lafayette's shot misses entirely. And Adams and Hamilton kind of rush up and say, "Honor has been satisfied, gentlemen. Let us depart before the authorities arrive." And they both head out. And you have successfully managed not to have two key figures in the Revolutionary War kill each other.
Oh, man.
That was close. Oh, wow.
That was very close.
So close.
You definitely could have used Elijah tonight.
Absolutely.
Wow. Oh, my God.
All right. So next week, there will be further.
And so the fate of America was decided by an eighth of an inch.
Yep. And so next week, there will be further shenanigans in Boston. You can follow Happy Monster Press on Facebook as Happy Monster Press, at our website, HappyMonsterPress.com, Twitter as Happy Monster PRS, or follow the podcast on YouTube, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iTunes, or Google Play Music. The Happy Monster Cast is part of the Savage Worlds Media Network. This game references the Savage Worlds game system available from Pinnacle Entertainment Group at www.peginc.com. It is unofficial media content permitted under the Media Network Content Agreement. This content is not managed, approved, or endorsed by Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Certain portions of the materials used are the intellectual property of Pinnacle and all rights are reserved. Savage Worlds, all related settings and unique characters, locations, and characters' logos and trademarks are copyrights of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. All other content is the intellectual property of Happy Monster Press. Background music is Ice Cold by Jason Shaw.
Oh, for sure.